Oh, yeah. All right, we are back, and today's an interesting one. I'm gonna be talking about how you can raise money with 500 followers, with the main point basically being the fact that you don't need to have a tremendous amount of followers in order to be successful when it comes to raising money. And it makes sense why you think it does. I used to think it did as well until I realized that it didn't. And the fundamental thing being trust, it doesn't conflate with however many followers you have. So that's a common misconception. I mean, I've seen people with like 500 followers, for example, raise millions compared to people with 50,000 followers who struggle to even raise a penny. And I nearly got caught up in that statistic as well. I nearly became a part of it until I figured out how to navigate the landscape of raising money. So this is just going to be about how to utilize a small following, or even if you don't even have a small following yet, it's how you can start and basically get to that stage, not needing to be crazy viral in order to be successful with raising money. So the first thing to almost drive home is the fact that you're not raising money from the masses most of the time anyway. And I think from a legality standpoint as well, I'm pretty sure it's considered like crowdfunding if you're raising it from a tremendous amount of people. All you really need is one person. I mean, the less the better, because it's less people to deal with, less people to manage, etc. So all you really need is less than a handful, really. So if you think about it like this, majority of us have, at least 200 followers, maybe 300, 400, 500. And all you need is for one of those people to really resonate with whatever it is that you're doing and buy into your story in order for you to get going. So, and the real driver there is ultimately trust, right? So that's the point that I'm going to keep returning to, and I'm going to circle around, not even circle around, but go deep on how to go about building it. So first things first, this trust is built by documenting. Now, all documenting really means is just demonstrating what you're doing, showing what you're doing. And at the start anyway, this was the case for me. It's like you want everything to be polished to a certain level. You think that you need to be doing a certain amount of things or have a lot of stuff going on in order to be able to quote unquote document. But what you'll come to realize is by being visible and showing what you're doing, showing what your intention is, your mission, whatever you want to call it, that itself can bring about more opportunities and more instances and scenarios basically for you to get closer to the quote unquote end goal or mission. So always remember that you've got to start from somewhere, and as long as you're documenting yourself and being visible, that's half the battle, right? And obviously, you've got to have a level of competence, understand what it is that you're trying to do, and being able to showcase whether your ability to, do and execute at a level. In my case, it's property. So the more you're able to showcase said competence, the better you'd be at almost demonstrating credibility and that thing that we're going to keep on circling back to, being trust. So what that looks like is just showing up, being consistent. Consistency overshadows absolutely everything else. This is rare to be consistent in this day and age. So if you're constantly showing up, documenting what it is that you're doing, posting, right, about it, that in itself will create more opportunities. So it's like action creates opportunities, and you documenting is a form of action. So don't delude yourself into thinking that more followers necessarily means more investors. The reason why that is especially true is if you think about it in the context of like the music industry, right? I'm sure you all know certain artists more recently with like the rise of TikTok. There's certain like TikTok artists and whatnot who might have a tremendous amount of streams, like 50 million plus streams on a song, etc. Right? And there might be a smaller, more underground artist who doesn't get as many streams, but they're able to, I'm gonna say, like outsell, like the more popular artist because they've got a more engaged audience. They call it like a cult-like following, right? They've got like a more engaged following, and the same is true when you look at however many followers you need in order to raise money. Oftentimes, the people with smaller accounts or like lower followings, is that a word? Yeah, lower followings. I'm just gonna stay with that. The reason why is because a lot of the times their content and their messaging is more specific and more tailor-made to whoever it is they're trying to speak to. So case in point, I know someone who tailors their content to speak to Singaporean and Hong Kong potential investors. Their account is tiny. You wouldn't know about them, but they raise millions. Like, it's not even a joke. But because they know who their ICP is, ideal client profile, they know who that is, and everything that they post speaks to that person. Same way with the musicians, right? The smaller artists might make music, right, that ties in and engages the audience more, and in return, that audience, they like the artist more deeply than the viral one who makes like a good song, a banger that appeals to like everyone, which is why everyone listens to it, but nobody cares enough or listens to him enough, right, to develop that, I don't know whether to call it trust or affinity or whatever, but that's the point essentially that I'm trying to drive home, is that a lot of the times the smaller pages are more niched. They're more niched down. So the key there is in identifying who it is you're trying to resonate with and then just forgetting everything else. So in the case of investors, you might have a specific type of investor that you want to resonate with. And the more you can resonate with that person, the more likely they are to fully commit to whatever it is you're doing, to fully buy into it, because they'll feel like the relatability is there. And because we're all humans, we're tribal animals, we're more likely to gravitate towards those that we either see ourselves in, we relate to, resonate with, or those that we just ultimately like and trust, right? So that plays a massive, like I'm talking about a massive role in raising money online. Now, bringing it more down to a granular level, what this would actually look like if, to answer it, if I were to build up my account again or start again, basically, I would start by showcasing exactly what it is that I'm trying to do. This is assuming that I've not yet, done projects or whatever, any successful development. So I would showcase exactly what it is that I'm looking to do, and then I would document everything from the things I'm learning to the mistakes that I'm making to the actions that I'm taking, everything that would build towards my credibility. So I literally be posting. Me, I would start, well, I say I'd start daily. Like, it can be difficult sometimes to start doing something like every single day. But if you have the grit and you want it enough, you can literally do it daily, right? Just posting daily, because the more visible you are, the more you're posting, the more you're going to be seen, and the more likely it is for someone to buy into you, because they're just seeing you more. It's like developing an element of like omnipresence, I think is the term. So yeah, doing that, just documenting mistakes, things I'm learning, actions I'm taking, and I would tailor it in a way where it speaks to the type of investor that I'm looking to go for. So, for example, if I was going after grown like mums, for example, have kids and grandkids, etc., I would speak to the things that they care about, things to do with, maybe like a better family life and that type of stuff. You get the general gist. Like you can tailor whatever it is or whatever you're putting out there to speak to whoever you want to, right? You just need to define who it is that you're trying to target, and then think about the things that they care about, their passions, their fears, etc. Right? And then it's every now and then, it's almost like a pyramid. So you've just got general content at the bottom. You've got more awareness style content above that. Maybe presenting a problem, etc. Then at the very top, it's like, well, before you even get there, offering a solution, and then at the top of that, you've got like a call to action. So letting people know that, yeah, I'm raising money, or opportunities, blah blah blah. However you need to. I've done it before. You can go on my page and see how I go about doing it. But it's almost like a loop. It's like a feedback loop almost. Right? You just go through that cycle again and again and again. It's like you're posting general stuff, then you start gearing it up towards the call to action. You do it. You let people show their interest, right? And then you just go back down, general stuff again, so on and so forth. So it's the goal is basically to just have as many investor conversations as possible. And I kid you not, you don't need a tremendous amount of followers in order to be able to do so, because 9 times out of 10, once you've got the one or the two, they can then introduce you to a whole host of people who would also be willing or potentially interested in investing in whatever it is that you've got going on, because like birds of a feather flock together. And if they like happen to like or trust whatever it is that you're doing, it's very likely that the people that they have access to will as well. So that's it. All you really need is the one. Right? And to get to the one, you don't even need that many followers, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. As long as you're putting out enough content, as long as you're speaking to the people that you need to, playing on their hopes, dreams, passions, fears, etc., then yeah, you'll be well on your way. So it's I've got a kind of like a mini framework here that I've used, that you can basically use to drive home the point. And this content, obviously personal content, to try to funnel into some type of conversation. Usually it's going to be a DM conversation. Is that, or you can capture their information or whatnot in some type of form, whether it's like a type form, jot form, Google form, whatever it is, and that can be in like your bio. And then from there, the idea is just trying to have a phone conversation. The more phone conversations you have, the more likely you are to actually raise the money that you need. So that's that. Have some type of form ready, maybe like an email list as well if you want to make it more advanced, or like a basic like CRM type system. But these are more advanced stuff. Like at the beginning, it's just worrying about posting the content and understanding that you don't need a crazy amount of followers whatsoever. and then you can make things more complicated as you go along. But that's how you would start off. That's how I started off anyway. So the main things to remember is the goal isn't to go crazy viral. I mean, it's great if they happen in unison, but a lot of the times they don't. And what I found is the people that lose themselves in trying to chase the virality, they end up veering further away from the goal of raising the money, because the things you have to do and post to be viral and remain viral oftentimes aren't congruent with the things that you typically post in order to like raise the money. If you're more sophisticated, you can almost use like a blended strategy approach where you've got some stuff that you post for virality purposes, and then you've got the other stuff that you post to drive it home, right? Because sometimes you can capture good attention in being viral, and then segue that into your main objective. But I wouldn't lose myself in trying to chase followers. Just always remember that you do not need that many at all. I'll be real with you, like, you don't need many at all in order to raise money. And I've basically explained how. If you need me to go into greater depth, then let me know below. Yeah, that's actually it. That's all for this video. Nice, short and sweet. I'll see you lot in a few days.